Hello all. Hello all. Today we'll discuss on the essay Columbus Voyage, the birth of capitalism. So this essay it is all about the great explorer Christopher Columbus and his first voyage, and it is this essay discusses Christopher Columbus' first voyage from critical and historical perspective, presenting it not only as a simple discovery but as the beginning of capitalism, colonial exploitation, and slavery. So there is a lot of misconception about Columbus discovery. And coming to Christopher Columbus, he is a great explorer known to the world as great explorer. He was born on 1451 in Genoa, present day Italy, and he became known as navigator and mapmaker. Although Columbus is often celebrated as explorer who discovered America, the reality of the voyage is far more complex and controversial. So the document or this article reveals that Columbus expedition is just exploitation, where his expedition were not about discovery alone but were deeply connected to European ambitions for power, wealth, and the beginning of modern capitalism. His journey to the New World it was completely financed by Spanish monarchy, and it was part of Spain's broader military and economic strategy, and it aimed to expand its influence and establish what to tell the trade routes and acquire new territories. So there is a common myth that portrays Columbus as a great visionary, and Chris, um, and Christopher Columbus. We know him as a visionary genius who fought against the skeptical world that believed the earth was flat. But in reality, uh, in those days, educated Europeans of that particular time, they understood that earth was round. So there was no need to prove that earth was round. Instead of struggling to prove this, Columbus was primarily concerned with negotiating rewards from the Spanish crown, demanding the titles such as Governor General, Viceroy over the lands which he found. His motives were not purely scientific, but it was completely focused on securing personal power and wealth, which complicates the narrative of him as a noble explorer. When Columbus set sail in 1492, the Spain they had high hopes for the mission, and in 1492, Spain, as we discussed, had high hopes for this mission, and which was not that risky adventure, but well funded and carefully planned expedition. Upon arriving in Caribbean on October 12, 1492, Columbus, what he did, and he and his men, they laid the foundation of European colonization. His expedition marked the beginning of European control over the new territories, but this also led to the exploitation of indigenous people. Columbus introduced a system similar to European feudalism, where native people they were forced to provide the labor and resources. They were really treated very uh, badly. And This system it has a name, and that is called encomienda, which was essentially slavery, and those who could not meet these demands they were subjected to brutal punishment. So that was the end result. And Columbus he the arrival of Columbus drastically altered the life of Americans. So there was a great change in their like the way of living. Why? Because The native population of Hispaniola, for example, it dropped from million to just 29,000 within a few decades. While the report tells that it is because of certain diseases, but it is emphasized that the real cause it was the harsh treatment and forced labor that it is imposed by Columbus and his followers. And Columbus' action set a tone for future European colonization. So this was the main motto of his expedition. Nothing else, and his personal craving for a lot of power and wealth, and prioritized wealth and power over the well-being of indigenous people. His voyages also paved the way for development of systems like transatlantic slave trade. So this is one thing, the worst part of his expedition, that is transatlantic slave trade, in which Africans they were forcibly brought to America. Why? Why? Because they had to work in the plantations. And the other important event is that Columbus' behavior eventually caused a lot of problem even in Spanish monarchy. This news reached Spanish, and reports of the harsh condition of these colonies it reached Spain. And the priest, what did they do of that place? They protested the mistreatment of the natives. So Queen Isabella, she completely supported Columbus, but what did she do? She ordered to enter the native slavery. He did not listen to her, and his negligence, along with lot of complaints from the settlers about his governance. This led to the arrest, and he lost all the power because he did all this for the power, for wealth, for name and fame, but he lost everything. But later it is said that he was released, and but he was stripped of all his titles, and marking the end of his influence in the colonies. So, towards the end of this essay, that is, it is discussed that we can conclude by telling that Columbus' voyage, it marked the beginning of new era, while they opened trade routes and fueled the rise of capitalism. They also brought immense suffering to indigenous people, and the only benefiters or the only people who made profits, that is like banks, merchants, insurance companies in Europe, they profited from the new trade routes because the further it expanded European like economic power. And Columbus expeditions often portrayed it is often portrayed as heroic. We know that, but in fact, it is very deeply rooted in greedy exploitation and pursuit of dominance. And we know that Columbus' voyage, he is a person who is credited with connecting. That is, his legacy is a complex one. It is credited with connecting Europe and America. His actions, but the reality is that his actions brought slavery, violence, and destruction of native cultures. So, this version of Columbus focuses to reconsider the traditional narrative and recognize the darker consequence of the um, consequence of his exploration. So, this is all what is said in the essay. So, Columbus, like exploration or expedition, it is having a darker side too. Um, Thank you.